Hi guys, welcome back. Now in today's video I'm going to be looking at a thing called simultaneous equations, and we're going to use matrices to try and solve those. Now when we're thinking of lines, lines can be described by something like these two. We call this equation number one, equation number two, and we can do simultaneous equations. We can either find these things here are parallel lines and they never meet, or we can find these two lines cross each other at some point and there is a unique solution. Alright, so there are lots of ways of doing this. So from graphing these equations and finding the point using a graphics calculator. But today I'm going to show you how to use your inverse matrix and that concept to try and find the actual answer. We're going to use this information. I'm going to do some algebra first for you, matrix algebra, and it's like normal algebra. Alright, I'm going to write this concept here. So the thing is, I'm going to say if we have A times by B, alright, then that's equal to, or X. Alright, if I times this matrix by the inverse matrix A times by B, then that's equal to the inverse of that. Now obviously when you're timesing a matrix you have to times out the front of both. Now when we do the inverse times by matrix, we have a thing called the identity matrix, right? And then that allows us to go, that's inverse of A times by X, and so therefore B is equal to inverse of A times by X. So that's the concept we're going to use in order to solve this. So first of all, I have to bring these equations and make them into matrices. So what we're going to do a thing is detach the coefficients. So I'm going to write this as, well, the numbers are 3, -1, 2, and 3. Now, I'm basically, to get those, I have to actually deconstruct the multiplication, and that would be x times by y, and that's equal to this matrix over here, which is 8, 6. So I'm going to call this matrix here A, I'm going to call this matrix here X, and I'm going to call this matrix over here B. I'm going to do the same algebra. Inverse of A times by A equals X equals inverse of A times by B. We know that's equal to I times by X, that's equal to the inverse of A, B, and so therefore X is equal to the inverse of A times by B. And so therefore I can get my answer. Right, now, if you look at a previous video, I've actually worked out what the inverse of A is for that particular matrix. Alright, so I'm going to use that concept over here. So that's what you'd have to do. So X is equal to the inverse of A, and I can't remember what it is, so I'm going to have to go up there and find out what it is. So that's 3, right, 3 and 11, 1 on 11, minus 2 on 11, and 3 on 11. That's my inverse of A, and my B matrix is equal to 8, 6. So now I'm going to use matrix multiplication to do that. So that's now going to be equal to 3 times by 11. Now don't be frightened by the fractions. You're going to simply times things together. And when you're timesing fractions together, it's easy. So that's going to give me, for the first term, row number 1 times column number 1 is 3 times 8 is 24 on 11. And I'm going to add 1 times by 6, which is going to be 6 on 11. Right? So that's going to give me an answer of it's going to give me an answer of 30 on 11. All right, we'll do that in a second. The next row, I'm going to have 8 times by -2 is going to be minus 16 on 11. And then I'm going to have 3 times 6 is going to be plus 18 on 11. All right, so when we do that, remember X is in fact X and Y. And therefore, when we go X and Y, and I work that out, so 24 plus 6 is going to be 30 on 11. And then the next one is going to be negative 16 plus 18, which should give me 2 on 11. So what that's telling me is we've got two lines cutting, and that point there is basically 30 on 11 and 2 on 11. That's where those two lines meet. Now, I'm going to show you how to do that on calculator as well. So, sorry, picked the wrong one. So the equation I've got here is, I can use a thing called polysim. And this is really useful, and this is why when we start talking about graphics calculators have changed the way we do things. All right, so we're going to do a simultaneous equation solver. So that's the number 2. How many equations do we have? We have 2 equations with 2 unknowns. All right, and we have to click on the next step once we've done that. All right, so we're going to write our equations in here. We've got 3, enter. The next value is take, so it's minus, enter, and it's going to be 1, y, and that was equal to 8. Now, even if you can't do this, you're not allowed to do this and you have to do it algebraically, you can check that you get the right answer by using this method here. So this is a really useful thing to do in order to know what your answer should be. And once I've put that equation in there, all I have to do is press the graph button or the solve button, and it gives me those two answers. All right, so I've now checked that I've actually done it correctly using my matrices, using my graphics calculator. Now, my question is, why would I ever do it the old-fashioned way? But, we're testing whether you can actually use the matrices, whether you can use that process. All right. So that's pretty well the way of solving these problems. What I might do, because now I would suggest if you don't want to watch the rest of this video and you think you get it, go and do some. But I'm going to do another example in this video, just so you've got another example to do. So let's do another question. Let's do 2, negative 1, 6. All right, so I'm just going to do this example here in the question. All right, so let's do that one there. We'll go through the whole process. 2x take y equals 6, and what do we got? X plus 3y equals 14. Well, so x plus 3y equals 14. So we're going to go through the whole steps really quickly, what I just did then. Right, first thing is I have to write these as detached coefficients, 2, negative 1, 1 and 3. That will be times by x, y. Okay, and that's equal to 6 and 14. Done. I'm going to write this in the form of a times by b equals x. Alright, we know we have to do the matrix algebra. We know that the inverse matrix A times by B is equal to the inverse matrix of A times by X. B, and this is going to be the same every time, but you have to show it because it's good mathematics, and therefore B is equal to the inverse matrix of A. Now, I need to work out my inverse matrix. So first of all, I have to work out my determinant of A. That's going to be equal to 2 times by 3, which is 6, take 1 times by negative 1, which is plus 1. That's going to give me an answer of 7. My inverse matrix of A is equal to 1 over 7. Now, remember what we do with the inverses? We swap out a diagonal there, and we change the sign of these other things there. So therefore, I'm now in a situation where I can do this, which is equal to my inverse matrix of A is 3 on 7, 1 on 7, negative 1 on 7, and 2 on 7. I need to multiply that by 6 and 14. I think. So it should be A times by X, 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 B, 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 B. What was I thinking? All right, let's do the matrix multiplication. Now we know we've got X and Y over here. We know we've got X and Y over here. And so therefore 3 times by 6 is going to give me 18 on 7. 1 times by 14 is going to give me plus 14 on 7. And then we've got over here, we've got -1 times 6 is going to be -6 on 7. And 2 times by 14 is going to be 28 on 7. All right, now you know that's going to simplify to be 4, but let's keep them all in the fractions at the stage, all right, and see if we can get an answer. All right, so we've got 14 plus 18 is 32 on 7, and then we've got -6 plus 28 is going to be 22 on 7 are the points where these cut. Again, I'm going to come back to my graphics calculator. All right, I'm going to put my equation into my graphics calculator, and then that will help me check to see if I've got the right answer. Now, like I said, if we are asking you to do this algebraically, you've got to do it algebraically. So you just don't get your answer by simply give me the answer and I'll give you 4 marks. All right, so let's go to our calculator here. So we've got to go to our thing. Yep, we've got that. Go to our next, put our new equation in. So we've got 2, and let's still take 1, and that's equal to 6. And then the next one's going to be 1x plus 3y, and that was equal to 14. And we just have to press our solve button. Oh, worked out beautifully. Good to see that I can actually do the maths correctly. All right, I hope these videos help you. So you've got to go and you need to be able to do this yourself, all right? So you need to practice that, and if you need help, make sure you ask for some help.